Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadare Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranam, devotees. So I am just, by the request of a devotee who had asked me to kind of take a listen to a class this morning by a very well-known sannyasi, and I got on the class slightly late, not too late, and I was able to catch a good portion of the class, and thought it was well done. And in particular, this particular sannyasi has been an advocate for the health of devotees for many years that I've known of him. I've not had that much personal association, but I've known him to be an advocate for the health of devotees, and I've always appreciated that very much. The devotee who gave me a call, I don't think were attending personally. I think they may have been listening online as well. And they were asking me questions at the time of the class with different things that were coming up. And I was saying perhaps we should just hear the whole class, and you can ask questions afterwards. I'm always a proponent that actually the best way to ask your question or get an inquiry satisfied is to actually ask the speaker of the class, because context, clarifications, those things will be better known to them exactly what they were getting across than asking a third party. So of course there's some things that I can comment on from my perspective of understanding Guru Sadhu Sastra. But again, my recommendation, I don't know if Maharaj will be here for more days, but to please attend the class if he is here. And you can either personally, if he has time, or in the class format to inquire about the things that you're asking me. Just with that being said, because I always would give deference to the speaker of any class, I will go on to answer your questions. The questions were about the nature of the division of devotees, different levels of devotees, which is in the title here. And that's because in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad has written on eligibility for practice of Sadhan Bhakti. And he's utilized the terms Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. And similarly, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the conversation between Maharaj Nimi and the Navayogindras, again, the different categories of devotees are brought up, but here there's a slight difference because it's mentioning three types of Bhagavat, means those established in Bhakti, and it gives two higher levels, and then it gives a general category of those who are still within the confines of what is called Prakrita Bhakti, or Bhakti still very much infused by material consideration. So I will go through the verses and give a deeper insight, and hopefully this will be an answer to your question. I think one devotee was trying to ask about that difference this morning, or make the differentiation this morning, but it perhaps didn't come across fully. So I'm at your request, just going ahead and citing the verses, and then citing the nature of those differences and how to perceive them according to Sastra. So first of all, the terms Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishta are used in different ways. So you always have to pick up the context of how it's being used and for what. Because even in the description in Ujjalanamani about different kinds of Naika, this same thing is being used, Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishta. right? Because it's describing that the Nayika has 360 qualities. And it breaks down different kinds of Nayikas. Those who are Swakiya means married, Parakiya, wedded to others, and then Kanya, those who are unmarried. It discusses different kinds of Nayika, like Dira, Adira, Dira, Madhya, Pragalba, Mugdha. So in this way, it's describing different types of Nayak. And in the 360 that are in total, one breakdown is of those who are Madhyam, Uttam, and Kanishta. So the use of Madhyam, Uttam, and Kanishta is not sort of a stale usage, so to speak. It's not just restricted in its usage. It can be applied to different circumstances. So first, let's look at the verses that are discussed by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. They're discussed in the section on Sadhan Bhakti. So Srila Rupa Goswami is saying here in the section on Sadhan Bhakti, first I'll quote one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shravan Jan Hoy Bhakti Adhikari Uttam Madhyam Kanishta Shraddha Anushari. It's saying that the various levels of Uttam, Madhyam, or Kanishta, it is measured by the flow of faith. And I think Maharaj did communicate that this morning. It's according to the flow of faith. And of course, we know from Madhurya Kandamini of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. So we're going to see how there's an intricate connection between the flow of faith and these two particular things, right? The association of a sadhu and the nourishing of faith. So, but the various levels of elevation, so to speak, come in relation to the flow of Shraddha, right? Because Shraddha is the sort of leanest and thin expression of Bhakti Shakti or Swarup Shakti in the presence of the Jiva. We should not think that Shraddha is something small, because even to have Shraddha is a very, very important and very major thing. The Jiva, it's explained, I've explained this many times in many different conversations I've had here online. But Anarya Vijay Yuktasha Purusha Shavedatmanam Swato Na Sambhavanti Anya Gyanatva Ganado Bhavet. That the Jiva who's been conditioned from Anadikal, means time without any beginning, they cannot Swato Na Sambhavanti. They cannot effect their own extrication or extraction from the material energy. Right? It has to be done Gyanatva, Gyanadobhavet, by a sadhu. Gyanatva, Gyanada means from a sadhu who is mercifully inclined to give faith, because that's what a sadhu does. The first thing that comes from the association of a sadhu is faith. And faith has the quality Shraddha, Anupayani Brajam, Bhakti Unmukha Chitta Vritti Vishesh. To take the functions of consciousness and turn them from the external dynamic and turn them inwards towards Bhagavan. So that's the amazing power in faith. But if that faith doesn't become reposed at the lotus feet of a sadhu, further progress is not made. So that's the first verse I quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then it goes on in Chaitanya Charitamrita to quote the verses which are there in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, Sastra Yukti Suni Punya Dhrir Sharayandra Uttamari Karise Taraye Samsar. So, those who have Uttam Adhikar. So, the word Adhikar means eligibility or have the Shakti of Bhakti present in them to a degree, right? Because everything is Kripa. Everything is Kripa Shakti. It's a power. Our sadhana cannot produce Bhakti. Bhakti sanjayate bhakti. Or bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. Bhakti comes from Bhakti. It's not produced by sadhana. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. It's not produced. But Shravanari Surachit Kare Yudoy. In the purification, it comes from the Swarup Shakti embedded in performing sadhan bhakti. It invokes the Kripa Shakti of Sadhu and Parampara and Mahaprabhu Shri Radha Krishna. So that Kripa Shakti is the power that actually is producing elevation in bhakti. It is not the sadhana or the external practice of the aspirant. Right? So Shastra Yukti Sunipuna means a person who has become Sastra Sunipunya. They have become deeply connected with the understanding of Sastra and Sastra Yukti. Yukti means both the logic involved in Sastra, but it also means the application of Sastra, the appropriate applications of Sastra. So because a person has some depth of realization in Sastra, Drita Shraddha Yandra, their faith is fixed on that basis. Now, their faith is also fixed because of their connection with a sadhu. Because Sastra is of two kinds. It mentions about Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavat, what is it? Eka Bhagavata Sastra or Bhagavat Bhakti Rasapatra. Srimad Bhagavatam is of two kinds. One is the book Bhagavat, the book Srimad Bhagavatam. The other is Bhagavat Bhakti Rasapatra, or the container of the Bhakti Ras, which is present in Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of a sadhu or devotee. So here, when this faith becomes fixed, it means not only is it based on Sastra and the understanding of Sastra, Sastra Yukti, but it is because that faith has been reposed at the lotus feet of the personification of Sastra in the form of a sadhu. Understand? For that person who has this, they are uttam adhikar in the eligibility for practice. Because when you truly understand Sastra, and you understand the elements of Sastra that produce clarity around Sambandha Gyan, who am I? Abhideya, how do I properly practice bhakti? And prayojan, what is my ultimate goal? When the effects of Sastra and Sastra Yukti coming from the guidance of a sadhu takes that effect in the aspirant, then bhakti naturally unfolds, and that person then is situated in the uttam, the best position for practicing bhakti yoga. So it indicates there are levels of practice that are not uttam. You understand? That there are levels of practice that are not uttam. So in the next slok, Rupa Goswami describes Sastra Yukti Nohi Jani Drida Shradhavan Majamari Karishe Mahabhagyavan. So a person who is not very steeped in Sastra or the applications of Sastra, but they have one great quality, they are Shradhavan. What does Shradhavan here mean? If your Shraddha is not based in the depth of realizations coming from Sastra and Sastra Yukti, it means it's coming from the association of the sadhu, and the unfoldment of Sastra and Sastra Yukti is unfolding. But the basis of the faith at that point is in the sadhu. You understand? So that person is considered, say, Mahabhagyavan. They're very, very fortunate because they've recognized one very important thing, the importance of sadhu sangha. So Jiva Goswami has described for us what is a sadhu. Sadnoti sadayati cha Krishna prem itti sadhu. Means that person who has realization of what is Krishna prem, they are called a sadhu in regards or in context of those aspiring in the practice of Sudha Bhakti, as it was taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and brought to the Western world by Al Srila Prabhupada. Right? So, those persons who have recognized that kind of sadhu and samyak rupain anugamana have completely taken shelter and are following that sadhu. The word anu has three meanings here. Anu means continuously, without break. Anu also means following, literally to follow something. And anu also means anutva, or with great humility. So with great humility, following continuously the guidance of a sadhu is called anugatya. Understand? So this is the meaning of the word sadhu sangha. So the madhyamadikar in eligibility to practice bhakti is a person who's realized the value of that type of sadhu sangha. You understand? So they are mahabhagyavan. They may not know sastra, but they will, all of these things will come in the association of a sadhu. The third category, Sastra Yukti, the third category is Yahara Komala Shraddha Shekanishta Jan. Yahara Komal Shraddha. Komal means soft. Komal means like very soft, so it means it can be influenced by material energy. In other words, the material impressions coming from our past still have great sway for an aspirant whose faith is not fixed and has not been deposited at the lotus feet of a sadhu. So Yahara Komala Shraddha. Their faith is called Komal Shraddha. Right? And they are Kanishta. Kanishta means prior to obtaining Nishta is called Kanishta. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad in his Madhurya Kandambini Grantha, he has explained what is Anishtita Bhakti, beginning with Utsamai, Ganatarala, Vishaya Sangara, etc. So there are 6 stages of this Anishtita Bhakti. You understand? So those who are practicing but are still working through those 6 stages of Anishtita Bhakti, they are called Kanishta. And when, by the influence of a sadhu, one takes up the proper methodology of doing bhajan, then the Kriya Shakti or Swarup Shakti exerts its influence on that aspirant and removes the anarthas and obstacles and brings one to the platform where their chitta can be steady. Nishchalaya yashaha iti nishta. That the chitta becomes, nishta means fixed in consciousness. It's not vacillating by material influences, but rather the influence of Swarup Shakti, the prabhav of Swarup Shakti, has steadied the chitta and allows now the descent of the sweetness of bhakti to start to manifest on the chitta. This is why Bhagavad Gita says, Raso Vrajam Rasopiyasha Param Drishtan Varatate. When the stage of anarthas are removed, then the taste for jadras, means the taste that we had in the material world, wanes, and now a superior taste starts to come about. This is called the stage of ruchi or tatat bhava adi madhyure shuti dirapekshate nasa sastram yuktingscha tal lobat utpatti lakshanam. It spawned from greed. It spawned from the greed to taste the sweetness of the mood of the eternal associates of Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. Understand? So once the chitta has become steady and is not so susceptible to the influence of the material energy, then the prabhav or influence of Swarup Shakti can now reveal the sweetness. And that's why it's also mentioned, Pratyakshva agamam dharmyam shusukkam kartamavayam. Therefore the practice becomes very tasteful. Understand? Doing bhajan life becomes very tasteful. Understand? So those who have this kind of kolma shraddha, krame teno bhakta hoibe uttam. Still they are so fortunate, because if they will keep their aspiration alive and remain in a mood of approaching a sadhu, then they will come to the next level in which their great fortune will come about when their faith is really deposited, meaning saranagati, to a sadhu. Understand? Because this is the meaning between the second category, those who are madhyam in eligibility, and those who are kanishta in their eligibility, is the depth to which they've deposited faith in a sadhu, meaning they have done saranagati. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya vivajanam. Right? So, depending on that degree of saranagati to the sadhu, right? Because the sadhu is the agency of Bhagavan in this world. Right? We're singing every single morning, Sakshad Hari Tvena Shamashta Shastriya. All Shastras saying that Sri Guru is the direct agency of Bhagavan in this world. In fact, in Madhurya Kandambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has made it clear that Bhagavan himself does not give bhakti. Bhakti is given to the agency of the devotee. Right? There's a whole explanation that if Bhagavan himself was to give bhakti, then he may be attributed with the fault called asamya dosh. Asamya dosh means partiality. So Bhagavan is not partial, so therefore he gives inspiration in the heart of the devotee, and the devotee becomes the agency of Bhagavan in this world to distribute bhakti, and even then, there are different levels of Bhagavat, or devotees. So in the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Navayogindras, they're speaking to Maharaj Nimi. And when Havir speaks among the 9 Yogindras, he begins to quote verses describing different kinds of Bhagavat, or different kinds of devotees. So he says, Sava bhuteshu yapasyat bhagavat bhavamatmanaha. Bhutani bhagavati atmani esha bhagavat uttama. Uttam bhagavat means that person who Sava bhuteshu yapasyat. Everywhere, according to their Bhagavat Bhavam Atmanaha, according to the Bhav in their Atma, they see everything through that prism. So they don't think anyone's not Krishna conscious. They see everything as being related to their worshipable deity. So they see everything as Krishna conscious, every circumstance is Krishna conscious. So also that kind of Uttam Bhagavat, they also are not those who will normally preach. They may be doing deep bhajan in this world, but they normally will not be preaching. Because like our Vamsidas Babaji, or other very high class of Babajis in this line, right? High class of Bhajanandi devotees. They're not preaching, not because they don't have the welfare of the jivas at heart. Gopashodas Babaji Maharaj, he didn't do much preaching. But by his bhajan sadhan, he was holding back, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, the whole influence of Kali Yuga. So we should not think that those high class of Vaishnavas whose behavior we may not be able to digest because they're always absorbed like this. They see everything through the prism of their worshipable deity and their inner realization of their own swarup. You understand? So sometimes those devotees will come down to the platform of Majjhim. It does not mean that they've lost the platform of being Uttam. It simply means to do the service of preaching. They come to the platform of Majjhim Bhagavat. So here the verse describes Ishwari Taradineshu Baliseshu Disatsucha Prema Maitri Kripu Peksha Ya Karoti Samajjamaha. So this kind of either Uttam Bhagavat who comes down to the level of Majjhim Bhagavat, or those who have by the level of their own maturation in bhakti come to the level of Majjhim Bhagavat. This is the level by which Bhagavan uses them as an agency for giving bhakti in the world. Why? Because it's in the nature of this level of Bhagavat that four things exist. Praying for Bhagavan, right? And Maitri towards devotee. Maitri means friendship towards devotees. Kripa towards the innocent, and Upeksha towards those who are Aparadi, Mayavadi, those who are against bhakti, etc. So sometimes Upeksha has to be done because it is not always to the benefit of someone to try to, again, even in Bhagavad Gita it's mentioned, preach to someone who's completely faithless. Because then their kripa, their possibility, their potentiality for bhakti may also be damaged if they commit aparad either to the preacher or to bhakti itself. So sometimes upeksha has to be shown, right? So, but it's on this level that preaching is done. So now Uttam Bhagavat has been described and Majjhim Bhagavat has been described. When the Navayogindras were speaking to Maharaj Nimi, they described the whole category of those whose bhakti is still influenced by 81 different varieties of the modes of nature. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, I believe it's in the second canto, he describes that there are 9 processes of bhakti and there are 3 modes of material nature, but the modes of material nature are not singular in their function. They're always interacting. So if you take the 9 processes of bhakti and then you multiply the 3 modes of material nature with their interactions, you would get 3 times 3 is 9, times 9 practices gives 81 different varieties of practice of bhakti, still within the modes of material nature, especially born from the lack of the ability to become free from ahamkara or false egoism. I've described the word ahamkara many times. Aham means I am, karana, the cause, and karta, the doer. And in bhakti, the very nature of saranagati, which we reaffirm every time we do Guru Pranam, Namaha, Nama Om, Vishnu Padaya, etc. So Namaha means Na Ahamameti. I am not the doer, I am not the cause. Rather, I am Dasitva. Jivera Supoya Krishna Nitya Das. So until one has at least footing in understanding Dasitva in relation to Bhagavan, what to speak of Visesh Sambandha Gyan, meaning what kind of Das I am, etc., still there will be influence, even while practicing bhakti, of the modes of material nature. And this is described in the verse, Acharyam eva haraye pujam yara sharayate natat bhakteshu chanyeshu, which is an important line. Sa bhakta prakrita smritaha. So their bhakti remains, prakrita bhakti means material. influenced by material energy. You understand? Because they've not yet been able to, by the kripa of a sadhu, remove the anarthas that obfuscate the realization of Sambandha Gyan or their actual spiritual identity. You understand? Not Swarup Shakti here. Not Swarup Siddhi here. I'm meaning only even I'm the Das of Krishna. Still, there's the idea. I've told this many times, and while I was traveling for Harikatha recently, I also used this example. If an aspirant comes to the process of bhakti, let's say his name is John. So once he picks up the practice of bhakti by good fortune, he becomes Bhakta John. 6 months later, he takes initiation officially, but maybe not really understanding what this Harinam is. You understand? And so he begins to chant Harinam, having received it from Guru. Right? I'm not speaking to the quality of Guru here yet. That's another subject matter. But he receives Harinam. So now he is Jana Das. You understand? He's got a new name, new identity, and he's Jana Das. 1 year later, 6 months later, 1 year later, that Guru gives Diksha mantras. So now, of course, Diksha mantras are meant to give Sambandha Gyan. Right? Divya Gyanam Yanto Shimanti Mantre, Bhagavat Sarup Gyanam Tena, Bhagavat Sambandha Visesh Gyanamscha. The purpose of Diksha is to get Visesh Sambandha Gyan, to get an understanding from Sri Guru, what is the nature of my relationship with the Nam, which is Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Punasuno Nityamukto, Abhinato Nam Namyo. The name is not different from Radha Krishna Mahaprabhu. What is my relation? Not my Samanya Sambandha Gyan, generic relation. What is my specific relation? The ruchi which has been there, cultivated over many lifetimes, the Guru reinvigorates that ruchi. And that particular type of taste comes up in the heart of the aspirant when they're mature and they receive Diksha. Until maturation comes, you may hear the Diksha mantras, but the true resonance, it's called Vidvad Rudi Diksha, doesn't take place. So for many aspirants, it becomes an event. I went to a festival, big fire sacrifice. I even have some vibhuti on my head. I've got the Janoi Brahmin thread, everything if you're a male. And I received these mantras, these special mantras. You understand? On the paper and everything. Right? But what is the dhyan of the mantra? What's the art of the mantra is not clear. It means meaning and meditation. Not super clear, but I've got it. So now, I am Jana Das, a Brahmin. So now, Acharya Meva Haraye, Pujyam Yara Shraddha Yehate. I can have faith that I'm eligible to do worship to Bhagavan. I have faith that the deity is Bhagavan and I'm doing the worship. You understand? But the hallmark quality missing is that I have not truly had sadhu sangha fully manifest in my life. How? Natat bhakteshu cha anyeshu. Because I've not really understood the bhakta. What is sadhu sangha? Cha anyeshu, all the other things related to bhakti also are not clear. It means until and unless there's saranagati to a sadhu, and one is generally coming in sadhu sangha, then the clarification about what is what in bhakti doesn't take place. The external practice, archanam, is going on. Puja is going on. So archan and puja is going on, but that does not translate into bhajan because sadhu sangha has not been understood. You understand? And if there's no sadhu sangha, then the transmission portal of Swarup Shakti and the gyan related to bhakti, vigyan, realizations related to bhakti, are not being transmitted. So many times the relationship with Guru remains an official relationship. I have a Guru, right? I don't see them very much. I don't hear from them very much. I may listen to tapes or recordings, but that heart-to-heart transmission, it's called prasanga, is not really happening. And so what happens is I create an official position of being an initiated Brahmin in the social body. I'm eligible to do puja, maybe eligible to speak on a class, etc., etc. But still, my connection with the material energy via false egoism, which is now translated into I am, because in false egoism and in the subtle body of every jiva, there are different things: mind, intelligence, false ego. When the mind, intelligence, and false ego are under the avidya shakti, the avidya shakti creates different functions of the consciousness. One function is called asmita. The word asmi means I am. So ita means the condition of thinking I am something other than the das of Krishna. This is called asmita. As a result of that, a duality arises. There's no duality in the absolute truth. I'm the das of Krishna and Krishna is Bhagavan. This is Advaya Gyan Paratattva. There's no duality here. But as soon as asmita, by the influence of avidya comes, duality arises, called rag and dvesh, attachment and aversion. And then abhinavesh means the inextricable absorption in the function of the ahamkara and the modes of nature that I become entangled in. Now, when I come to bhakti, but I don't have Visesambandha Gyan given by Guru, I still maintain a connection with the ahamkara even though I've entered the practice of bhakti. This is how Srila Prabhupada is saying 81 different varieties of prakrita or material bhakti goes on. You understand? So, here in the 11th canto, Havir, one of the Navayogindras, is speaking to Maharaj Nimi and explaining the different kinds of devotees. Uttam Bhagavat, who sees everything through the prism of their bhav that they have in their heart. Those who are Majjhim Bhagavat, either because they came from the platform of Uttam Bhagavat to preach, or have risen up to the platform of Majjhim Bhagavat in order to preach, and they express their praying for Bhagavan. Jiva Goswami says this praying here means beginning from the stage of Ruchi to a Shakti to Bhav, and Bhav is the highest attainment within this body, because after that you have to get a spiritual body in order to experience praying. That's why Sudha Sattva Viseshatma Prem Suryangsa Samyabha. Only a ray of prem descends into the Atma, and that stage is called Bhav. Ruchi bis chittamasanya kiriso Bhav uchyate. It is called Bhav. Then, like in the first canto, 6th chapter, Narada Muni told, when my full perfection came, because he came to the stage of Bhav, right? Because he was able to have darshan of Bhagavan. Bhagavan said, you'll not see me again in this lifetime. So then, he came to a deeper and deeper stage in the stage of Bhavavast. There he says, after time became mature, I gave up this body. And prayujamani mayitam sudim bhagavatim tanum. Parabdakama nirvano anyat patat panchabodhika. Then the body of 5 elements fell away along with the subtle body of false egoism, mind, and intelligence. And I acquired a Sud Bhakti. Sud Tanum means a Sudha Bhakti completely made of Swarup Shakti, which was suitable to my service to Bhagavan. Right? Prayujamani means, in the translation, there's a nuance here, because in the translation, it says awarded. In Sanskrit language, prayuj means, the prefix pra means prakrishtarupe, means completely. Yuj means like yoga, completely connected. But that doesn't happen without the kripa of Bhagavan. So our acharyas have said prayujamane means niyamane. It means awarded by Swarup Shakti or Bhagavan. You understand? Through the agency of parampara. One is awarded a spiritual body which is a perfect representation of the particular ruchi or aspiration they had for a particular mood of service that was cultivated under sadhu sangha. You understand? So, these were the differences, Prabhuji, that you were asking about between the verses which describe eligibility or adhikar for the practice of sadhan bhakti and the nature of 3 kinds of bhagavat, or those general categories of devotees, beginning with Uttam Bhagavat, Majjhim Bhagavat, and then those who are Prakrita Bhaktas, which covers a whole category of those who are in the aspirational stage. You understand? The best of those in the aspirational stage are Sastra Yukti Suni Punya Jurishara Yandra. And it says for them, Uttamadikari say, Tare Samsara. They may also help others cross the ocean of samsara. That's why even in this level, Nishta coming into Ruchi, etc., they may perform the service of doing Harinam or giving Diksha. Right? There should be some realization. There should be some inner realization before taking up that seva. First of all, if you think by taking up this seva, I've become guru, you've already gotten off track. Guru is a function. Gu shabdat andakarasha, ru shabdat andakarasha nirodita. That function is being done by the person who's a sadhu. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Thais Shatava Tatya Savara Guru Abhimana Tyaji. Guru Abhimana Tyaji means the idea of a guru go very far away from me. Because the idea of a guru is directly connected. Raghunath Das Goswami in his Manasiksha, he's saying Pratishta Ashta Drasta is directly connected to the desire for prestige and adoration and so forth. And it means if there's still a taste in these things, there cannot be a ruchi in bhakti. He says, Pratishtastu drasta swapachat ramani ridi me natet katam sadhu prema spritati suchahir. How is it possible that the taste or pure prem can come into the heart, which is contaminated by the outcast, dog-eating prostitute of pratishta, or the desire for prestige and adoration, which is dancing in the heart? So all the adjectives that Raghunath Das Goswami used, dog-eating, outcast, prostitute, and drast, the word drast in Sanskrit means audacious. So it means the desire for prestige and so forth is so subtle that even though it's audaciously dancing in the heart and it becomes obvious even to others, we may not perceive it ourselves. Therefore, has to be some realization of your own internal reality and some taste, ruchi, and bhakti. Because if not, then the jadras, the taste in material things, especially in pride, prestige, adoration, distinction, all these things, they'll come and they will contaminate the environment between the guru and disciple. Understand? So if guru understands that this is a function, and that function is a function of deep love. So anybody, and that was the other thing that came up in the class this morning, really there has to be some tweaking, for lack of a better word, of the conceptions around guru. Our Srila Prabhupada obviously was not only Mahabhagavat, but he's also Saint Patibhakta of Mahaprabhu's mission. It means there's an exceptional quality. More than almost any shlok quoted in Srila Prabhupada's writings is the shlok, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tava Pravatan. Unless one is specifically empowered, one cannot preach in this fashion. So this was to some degree Srila Prabhupada giving revelation. This is a speciality. This is not the norm. This is not the norm. That such a saying, Pati Bhakta, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Parapadma, Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnu Paraparamuksa Statara Sisima, Srila Bhakti Narayan Goswami Maharaj, right? These kind of same Pati Bhaktas who can travel, make many disciples, but each disciple feels directly, personally, a relationship. Other than that, our Goswami Vagas have said, do not take many disciples. And you cannot institutionalize guruship. In Bhakti Sandarbha Jiva Goswami, Srila Prabhupada quotes it in the Adi Leela, chapter 1, text 35. In the purport, he says, in Bhakti Sandarbha Jiva Goswami is warned, do not take initiation based on social, hereditary, customary, or ecclesiastical considerations. This is really important. So the ecclesiastical body cannot determine what is guru-disciple relationship. They can determine how the institution functions. But guru-disciple relationship is a heart-to-heart thing. That can't be legislated. Jiva Goswami is directly saying about Bhakti Sandarbha, don't do that. Don't do it because in the social body, it's the social, or customarily in our society, this is what we do, or hereditary, like the family guru, Kula Guru. In our family, we've always accepted this guru, so that's what everybody does. Understand? So we should not accept guru on this basis. Guru should be accepted by deep faith. When there's deep faith in that person, and the guru's heart melts, like in the story of Narottam Das and Loknath Goswami. Loknath Goswami was not looking for any disciple. Narottam Das Thakur melted his heart. So where is the melting of the heart? And the relationship evolves from the melting of the heart of that person in kripa, in compassion, karun, for that person's aspiration in bhakti. This is guru-disciple relationship. It can't be legislated, because then guru becomes like a institutional symbol or a formality. So now you get up in the morning to do bhajan. Uttista Sri Guru Tajada Jam Kipomo. You're waking up your Guru, touching his lotus feet, and then you're singing. Samsara Dhava Navalidha Loka. Then you're singing Nikunja Yuno Rati Kelisi. And does this apply to your Guru? Not to, you understand? So then Srila Rupa Goswami says your practice will become Niyamagraha, ritualistic. And ritualistic practice will not give bhakti. Understand? It will be Sukriti. But what does Sukriti do? Sukriti gives you the ability to meet a sadhu. Bhagavad Bhakta Bhakteshu Sangena Parijayate. Prapyate, what is it? Bhagavad Bhakta Bhakteshu Sangena Parijayate. Satsanga Prapyate Pumbira Purva Sukriti Sanjate. This slok. By the accumulation of so much Sukriti coming from the shadow practice, Abhasa Bhakti, one will meet a sadhu. But until you do Saranagati, right, and you give your heart to a sadhu, and the sadhu gives his heart to you, the transmission of what's coming in parampara from Radha Krishna, Mahaprabhu, that doesn't get transmitted. You understand? So it ends up being that there's a dominant practice, but in the mode of material goodness. And the mode of material goodness has a danger in that Bhagavad Gita says it conditions one to false sense of happiness and a false sense of knowledge. So the idea, I'm well situated, look at all these karmis, I'm actually realize what is God, I know his name, Krishna. And so forth. You understand? So then a sense of superiority takes place to all the other jivas and so forth. And it may be subtle, it may not be a gross thing, but it could happen like this. So this comes from ritualistic practice. Deep bhajan practice, you will know it because realizations take place. Santam prasanga mamaveya samviro bhavanti rit karena rasanaya kata. When there's prasanga, it means heart-to-heart connection. Then the samvara of a sadhu means the harikata. Mama virya contains swarup shakti, means Bhagavan's own power. So when you hear any leelas, any siddhant discussed by a sadhu, the swarup shakti inherent in that, in the form of sound vibration, prasanga, creates a portal between the sadhu and the aspirant, or the listener, or the hearer. Ta josat asu apavagavatmani. Very quickly it removes all material considerations. Then shraddha, bhakti, bhakti prema anukramishati. Then very quickly, shraddha, bhav, then prem in a kram, means a succession, begin to unfold. Okay? So, this is hopefully, Prabhu, an answer to your question. I extrapolated a little bit on other things that you didn't directly ask about, but since I was doing this, I felt I would go ahead and add those things. So my Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, I normally don't do classes this late. Normally classes are earlier, but we listened to the class this morning, and I wanted to go ahead and answer your question right away. Tomorrow, obviously, I have another class, and it usually gets busier as time goes on. So my Dandavat Pranam, I'm always begging for the mercy of the devotees. Please give me your blessings and pray to our Guru Parampara that I can humbly stay involved in doing seva and advance in bhakti. Jai Vancha Kalpaturuvishcha Kripa Shindavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Hare Krishna Radhe Radhe.